That audience is ours. We should have them, like, doing our laundry or something.
We did blow them away in the first set.
Okay, Miss P, I know you're not into the whole, like, encore thing, but what do you say we just held back at the end of the set on She Sells and, like, really made them work for it?
When the show's over, it's over.
Welcome to Gimmicks, a podcast about the high-concept, experimental, structure-breaking gimmick episodes of TV. From musicals to bottle episodes to a clip show presented as a concert. I'm one of your hosts, David Arnold.
And I'm Derek B. Gale, and I drove all over the city for that cream cheese with the chives mixed in.
I love that. Such a great moment of being like, oh yeah, we're in the city.
Yeah. But also, is it that's like the most common type of cream cheese? Like, I don't understand why that was the one that was hard to find.
It's like that. It's that and nothing. Those are the types of cream cheese that I think every grocery store has.
Maybe it was just a chive shortage in the year 2000 that we forgot about. Maybe. I don't know.
Well, Derek screwed us up nicely because we are back in the year 2000, and this time we're getting a little spooky with the Disney Channel original series So Weird, Season 2, Episode 24, Encore.
Oh, I'm so excited.
If you're unfamiliar with So Weird, it was a tween-aimed supernatural drama that aired for 3 seasons from 1991 to 2001 on the Disney Channel, created by Tom J. Assel, who we might know from Coach or the live-action Adventures in Wonderland, most recently attached to the Netflix series Florida Man. And it follows the Phillips family, who are on tour with their rock star mom, Molly Phillips, who is Mackenzie Phillips of One Day at a Time and American Graffiti, who run into paranormal situations and creatures all across the United States, even though it looks suspiciously like Vancouver, Canada, which are all investigated by daughter Fiona Fee Phillips, an ardent believer in the supernatural, who is also guided along by the mystery surrounding her father's death.
Oh, yes.
This is such a fun series, Derek. We're going to get into your history with it, but I could not help myself. Even in this part of writing out what's going on with the series, there are so many parallels to other supernatural shows that we are very, very familiar with that followed this, that came before this. I mean, Fee is the molder of her family. She's got a brother who never seems to notice supernatural things, comes in at the last second. It's pretty wild.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's it truly. And I think like, obviously, there have been supernatural shows for kids that existed beforehand, but I think that when I watched this show, again, we'll do our respective histories and stuff, but like when I remember, I think what stuck with me when I originally watched it when it first came out was that I'd never seen anything exactly like it before, because any supernatural stuff that was for kids would be like, I don't know, it would be like Ghost Rider or Goosebumps or Are You Afraid of the Dark, like stuff that would be like anthology shows, or that would be a little campy, or like not really take it that seriously, or just sort of be like, we're kind of like trying to scare kids, but like we're also not really trying to scare kids. And like this show was sort of like, what if it was just an actual like adult drama constructed in the same way that any show on a primetime network television would be. It just happens to be 22 minutes long, and like the main character is a 14-year-old instead of an adult, you know? And like, that's pretty much where it stops. Like, it's an incredibly mature, dark show that feels way more like the X-Files than it does like Goosebumps.
It feels so X-Files. Like even the nature of them traveling around on the tour bus, because we're always in a different location. Yeah. And like the X-Files were in Vancouver, which is fine because I think they do a great job with all the episodes I watched with sets. Every time you see a wall, there's a ghost in it. Don't worry about it. Just ghosts everywhere. And I will say, Derek, this was scary.
It can get scary.
I mean, maybe it's me because I'm a baby, but there were jump scares in the pilot.
Oh, yeah. It's funny because I feel like the pilot is like one of the rockier episodes of the show. Like it's a really good pilot, but also like I think they don't really figure out the tone until maybe around season 2 or so. But yeah, even that one, it has some creepy stuff. The werewolf episode, it has one of the best werewolf episodes I've ever seen on TV because it really does play up the, like, it's better to just not show the creature if we can't afford to do it. And they get so many good scares out of that. And it's also like has a really good, like, a really good ending that like a really, I think, innovative ending for a werewolf story. But yeah, it would do it. It wasn't afraid to scare children. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, the series was led by, in season 1, 2, and the first episode of season 3, which we'll be talking about in a second, by Cara Delizia. And when I saw her show up on screen, I screamed because she was a young child, Sarah, I think her name was, on, do you remember this series? Nick Freno, licensed teacher on the WB?
It sounds very familiar, but I never watched an episode of it.
Was really bad. It was trying to capture like a Welcome Back Kotter thing, and it did not succeed. I think there were 2 seasons of it though. It was, I remember it very clearly because it was one of those things that was just on syndication all the time where I lived. And it was terrible, but I recognized her in a heartbeat. And then I made the connection that Delizia was in an episode of The West Wing that I almost pitched for the podcast called The Stackhouse Filibuster. And boy, I wish I would have sat on this because then you could have been surprised when you saw her. We won't be covering that because I've rewatched it. And the whole point of her character is to be misogynistic towards. So let's not do that episode.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
My other connection to Cara Delizia is from this amazing / awful semi-viral Olsen Twins short called Gimme Pizza that I now sing every time I get pizza.
Gimme pizza! P-I-Z-Z-A. Gimme pizza! P-I-Z-Z-A.
Wow. I watched this prior to us coming on. In fact, when Derek logged on, I was just finishing the 3-minute, 10-second video. And they are putting everything on this pizza. Whipped cream, fish, eyeballs.
It's disgusting.
It's
And
awesome.
What's so funny though, she's like a little small child in that, and she already has so much charisma. Like she is so much better
she's the
than
best one in the group.
every other kid in that group. She is like miles above them already. Like this girl was such a good actor. Like she had so much talent, so much charisma, and like a sort of vibe that I feel like I've never seen before on another person. Like incredibly good.
It's wild that she's not acting anymore. Like
she retired. Yeah, I think, I mean, I've never heard anything said one way or another. I think she was a very private person. My hope is that nothing bad happened to her to drive her to this, but my assumption is that like she was just like, I've been acting since I was a kid. I don't want to do this anymore. Like I'm a teenager. Yeah, and I'm like, I just want to get out of this, and she's just never acted since. It just kind of vanished from public life, which, hey, more power to you. Like she would have been amazing if she continued at it, but if she doesn't want to do it, I'm glad she didn't, and she got at least one incredibly good TV show out of it.
The wild thing about noticing her in The West Wing, different than her role on Nick Freno, licensed teacher, was that it would have been filmed maybe 3 months after her time on So Weird. And in So Weird, she's playing, a 15, 16-year-old maybe by the end of it. And on The West Wing, she's playing 19, 20. And just huge shout out to what you can do with makeup, costume, hairstyle, because I totally wouldn't have clocked this was the same person at a first glance.
That's
it wasn't
wild.
until really watching the episode that it clicked.
Yeah, I think I also remember being like on an episode, I think it was Boston Public or something, and being surprised when I saw her because it's sort of like, oh, she just like, I mean, I think it's a testament also to her acting that like when she's acting I think she is acting more like a kid on So Weird than she actually is. So then when she's playing adults, like a couple of years after the show, like she seems like a wildly different person. And considering how quickly she pivoted, it does make you, and that she left this show during its run. I think she did actually like break out of her contract that she was under for all 65 episodes. Makes me wonder if it really was just sort of like, I've been doing this since I was a kid. I don't want to be doing kid stuff anymore. Tries out doing adult stuff. And then it's sort of like, oh, never mind. I actually don't like this at all. And then just dips out.
This sucks too.
Yeah. Again, all speculation, but like, I think it's interesting how good she is on this show. And then just sort of like, never mind, dipping out. Bye, Hollywood.
Yeah. Well, this series, So Weird, debuted a few short years after the Disney Channel converted from premium cable to basic cable, airing alongside a slate of other high-concept, tween-centered original programming as part of the Zoog Disney block, but had a noticeably darker tone than any other Disney Channel original series or movies from back then, and probably since. It's also notable that, as we've sort of teased a couple times, there was a huge shift in cast, creators, tone, and even the color palette for the series in the 3rd season because of Disney's fierce pushback to the darkness and original plan for the series.
Yeah, we can talk all about that now, I guess, we're doing. Let's
Yeah.
talk about our own
Oh.
experiences with So Weird first.
Oh, well, yeah, let's talk about our own experiences with So Weird. I'll go first. I hadn't heard of this until Derek said, I desperately want to do this episode. And I was like, oh, it sounds like Gary, Indiana. And Derek looked at me directly in the soul and said, it's so much better than not Gary, Indiana, Erie, Indiana. Wow.
Gary, Indiana. I was like, who is that?
Gary, Indiana is a real place. Erie, Indiana was a supernatural show about people in Erie, Indiana.
I mean, it's better than both Erie, Indiana and Gary, Indiana. No shade on Erie, Indiana. That show was fun, but it's not.
This is
So
way
weird.
better. This is way better.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Derek, what's your experience with the TV series So Weird?
Yeah, I think that, I mean, it really was because I already was watching Disney Channel anyway. I remember Disney Channel being one that I was always excited to see when they would have like the free premium cable weekends where you'd get like HBO and Showtime or whatever free. Disney Channel would sometimes be part of that. And so it was like the only opportunity that I get to see some of the Disney movies that were locked in the vault, or like some of the animated sequel shows, if they like reruns of them that had, you know, long since not been airing on like CBS or ABC or whatever. And also like the live action Adventures in Wonderland show. I remember watching that on Premium Disney at the time. And so it was really exciting to learn like, oh shit, it's gonna be basic cable. We are going to just get that as part of the cable package we already have, you know. And I'm already a kid who's like obsessively watching like Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon, so Disney Channel just immediately clicks into place with that. And I think that I was the exact right age for their tween-centered programming that they started to do at the time. I was a tween when it was happening, you know, aging into early teenhood. And so suddenly they start churning out these really types of shows that I've never seen before, where they are like, they're aimed at that exact like point in time that like only lasts for a couple of years, where you're like 10, 11, 12, 13 years old, where like starting to feel too old for little kid stuff, but you aren't quite interested enough in like the stuff that's aimed more for like teenagers and adults that are like more complex and stuff. And they kind of found that really interesting sweet spot. But unlike a lot of other shows, like I think you'd see, you know, TGIF, I think kind of fits in that mold, right? Like Boy Meets World and Sabrina the Teenage Witch, but those are sitcoms. And I think what was interesting and innovative about Disney was sort of like, kids also like drama and action and stuff too. So what if we aimed this demographic with actual dramas? So you get stuff like So Weird. You get stuff like the famous Jet Jackson, In a Heartbeat. Like even like Bug Juice was like a reality show, like before reality shows really exploded. That was just about kids at summer camp. Or like The Jersey, I think was the weakest one out of all of them, but was still like about kids who put on a magic jersey and turn into like actual sports players, and they would get like NFL people like guest star in it. Like just weird concepts. And that I think like locked me in immediately, because it's sort of like, even when I wasn't totally into a show, it's like the concept is so fucking strange and I've never seen anything like it before, that's enough for me. But all that said, amongst all of them, So Weird, I think, was the one that always felt better and different, and that I was emotionally attached to. And I think I was really specifically attached to, like, I think the way that Fee was written as a smart young kid who, like, I think they really highlighted like the power a 13-year-old or 14-year-old could have just with a laptop and the internet now, which I don't feel like any TV show was doing at the time. And I felt connected to that. And then also just like the ongoing mythology and being like, oh, you know, I've seen the X-Files before and my parents love the X-Files, but like this feels like my X-Files, and I can get invested in this ongoing story. And that never feels like it's talking down to me. That feels like it's like innovating, and felt like it was like telling these types of supernatural stories, but doing them in a way that I'd never seen before. Or like I learned about the Fibonacci sequence from this show. Like it was just exploring and playing in places that like no other show for children was doing at the time. And I never stopped revisiting it. I taped a bunch of them. When they vanished from Disney Channel, I would always revisit them. And it was a show that like every single time I came back to it, I discovered something new about it, and like realized like, oh, this isn't just a show that holds up. This is a show that I actually am appreciating more and more the older that I get. And like, I love it more, I think, than I even did when I was like 12 years old, because I think it's just such a well-constructed show, you know?
Yeah, and it did not pull any intellectual punches with its viewers. The immediate next episode opens with a Ship of Theseus dialogue on someone just got an organ transplant. Are they still really them or are they someone else? And that's the sort of like weird thing that's happening in the next episode is that their like aging rocker dad friend is being controlled by this heart that he got at a heart transplant.
Yeah. And it's an episode that like it doesn't really have a happy ending. Like it's
No,
just
it
sort of
does
like
not.
I will never play music again and I've lost my appreciation for music because of my new heart. And that's
This
just
is-
the life that I live now.
This
Like
was so dark. I mean, just so many episodes. So the Christmas episode was also like surprisingly dark for a Christmas episode of a tween drama. And that was the autoplay after the Fibonacci sequence episode you instructed me to watch.
which is really funny because like that's one that's out of order because the actual next episode does pick up where like Fee and her mom
really?
aren't talking to each other and have to like
shit.
resolve that. And they plug the Christmas episode right in the middle because it has to come out in December. But it's sort of like, and suddenly things are happy, but now they're not talking to each other again.
No,
It's
it
like,
was a real big swing, but I was like, well, whatever. Just
Yeah.
Disney, you know?
yeah.
Before we move off of this and start talking about season 3, because it's not dark, it is weird. Can we talk about the Zoog of it all that was happening here on the Disney Channel?
Yeah, I don't know what the word Zoog means, so don't ask me. But like Disney Channel, I think what they were trying to do was separate things into like very particular blocks, right? So they'd have like, I think it was Playhouse Disney for little children. Zoog Disney was for all the like, you know, teens and tweens and stuff. And that would be the bulk of the programming. So all this, you know, all their original shows and any of like their regular movies and like all of the famous Disney Channel original movies all fell into that category. Those also were a thing where it's like playing in the weird high concept and stuff. But on like a really like a $1 budget or whatever, like all of that stuff fell into that category. And then I think it was Vault Disney, I think is maybe what came after where they play like really old stuff. But yeah, like Zoog Disney, I think was interesting in that like What's So Weird does, it was sort of like the internet exists now and these kids are using it more and more. So we're going to explore that. And so they had these little like computer characters that were called Zoogs, I think, that would like introduce the shows and tell you to go to the website. And you could literally visit Fee's So Weird webpage as well. And it looked exactly like it did on the show. It's really cool. I'm sure it's still on like, on archive.org or whatever now probably. But yeah, I mean, it lasted for a little while, but then it kind of fell out of favor once Disney started pivoting away from the dramas and towards sitcoms. And you start like, as soon as like Even Stevens and like Lizzie McGuire come out, the Zoog stuff goes away and they're sort of like, oh, these sitcoms that are churning out pop stars make us way more money than like the critically acclaimed high concept dramas do. And then suddenly, you know, no shade on the sitcom stuff. Like I sing the Lizzie McGuire song that she sings in the movie all the time. But the show, the channel fundamentally changes and like the Zoog Disney stuff goes away. They're really not playing in high concept stuff after that. And, you know, that's kind of what people know of Disney Channel now, I think, to this day, that it's like, oh, the silly, dumb sitcom pop star channel that also has some original movies that we remember liking. And people kind of forget about the Zoog Disney era, weirdly.
Would you believe that famously hated CEO Bob Iger had a hand in Zoog Disney and wrote about it in his biography, The Ride of a Lifetime, which I
What?
procured to speak about this for this episode?
I had no idea. That's fascinating.
Yeah, the entire idea was this sort of blending, and you started to talk about it, but the entire point of the Zoogs was to get children onto the Disney webpage to engage with content there as well as an early part of mixed media strategy that would become the norm just a decade later in not just Disney, but everywhere. And so it was kind of funny, but he writes about Zoog Disney as something that he's not particularly proud of because it never made sense to shareholders. And he had a lot of difficulty selling the concept outside of the user groups, which were parents and children.
Wow. I mean, it ultimately makes like all of that makes so much sense when you spell it out. Like it does kind of click into place actually. And it makes sense why it just sort of like got swept under the rug. Cause like I always found it weird that like as soon as they found their hits in like Even Stevens and Lizzie McGuire, like these shows just stopped airing on Disney Channel. Or they were like, I remember I have a bunch of tapes from like 2003 specifically where So Weird was playing every night at 3:00 in the morning and then it just vanished. And they never mentioned that these shows ever existed after that. Like they were just sort of like that. We're not playing in that world anymore because it failed And it makes sense. The fucking shareholders. Yeah, of course. Of course it didn't make sense to the shareholders.
For what it's worth, and I don't think I said anything that would have led to the way that this show changed, which we're about to talk about, but this was also the time period in my life in which I met Bob Iger at a fundraiser for the National Campaign Against Youth Violence.
Congratulations? Question mark. I don't.
Should have tripped him. Should have changed the timeline, but I didn't, and that's my bad.
Damn, you had a chance.
I remember his name. I remember a couple of other people's names. There was a guy who worked for Discovery named Scoot McPherson, and I just remember because his name was Scoot. Like you scoot across the floor. Sorry, Scoot, if you're listening. Hi.
So, what episodes did you end up watching of the show then?
Okay, well, because again, Mike has made the entertainment system impossible for me to navigate. I watched both of the episodes that followed. The Strange Geometry episode right into the Christmas episode, which was called Fountain, because it was about her going to like a diner. I watched the pilot, which was fantastic. The pilot was a awesome pilot.
Yeah, it's a really
I had
pilot.
no idea who Ned was. I couldn't figure out if it was their dad or not their dad, but we got there in the end. And loved seeing scraggly-haired bully kid who was he was the antagonist from Toy Story.
Eric Von Denton, right?
Yes, Eric Von Denton.
Yeah, this is it's funny because he ended up doing the same thing that Cara Delizia did, where like he was sort of like this emerging heartthrob. Like he was also in the Princess Diaries, and he only left this show, I think, because he was starting to get in movies. He still would come back periodically, like it wasn't a bad relationship.
Oh yeah,
thing.
he was in all 3 seasons, just not all the time.
Right, exactly. But he also did the same thing that Cara Delizia did, where he just like eventually sort of like, I don't think I want to do this anymore. And there was like an article that came out, I think like a couple of years ago, where someone found him and they were like, "Where did you go?" And he was like, I didn't know people were looking for me. I just like got a regular job. I just didn't feel like acting anymore.
He works in material sciences.
It's so funny.
What does that even mean?
I don't know.
Yeah. So then after Encore, which we're talking about today, I just kept watching. So I watched the next episode about the heart transplant and then the season finale because my interest was so piqued. And boy, talk about things that would have given me nightmares as a kid. A 3-headed Grim Reaper flies at her at the end of that episode.
Yes. Oh, I love that episode. So that song, "That Love Is Broken," is such
So
a
good.
fucking good song. And
So good.
If you listen to the full version that's illegally on YouTube, it is like a full 7-minute song. Like it is an epic 7-minute ballad. They play pretty much the entire song in that episode. It's so fucking good. I think that episode is really, really well done. It is interesting when you like know that the ending was reshot when Cara Delizia decides to leave. And I think when you watch it with that in mind, you start noticing the green screen that suddenly is happening in the last section, and the fact that the happy ending really does not match up with how haunting that song is, because it was supposed to be like a darker kind of cliffhanger ending.
Yes.
But it's still, I think, considering that they had to sort of reshoot stuff at the last minute, I think it works shockingly well as that season finale that really closes the door on everything, very quickly.
I don't think I could have watched that as a child because I, as an adult, even knowing that she came back season 3, episode 1, thought Fee was dead. I thought she was dead. Like truly and honestly, she's hanging on by her like barely tippy toe fingers off this ledge in New York City / Vancouver. And at the last minute, Ghost Dad shows up and saves her. And they have this like weird little reunion. Derek, it was wild.
Mm-hmm. It's wild. It's fucking wild. This show is incredible.
And then I watched season 3, episode 1, where somehow a mother is okay with her daughter leaving 3 minutes left into the episode and having a new surrogate daughter come along with them on the tour bus.
Look,
and you just have to accept it.
They were in an impossible situation. Look, yeah. So here's the other thing about the show. I'll talk about the people who wrote this episode are also very important figures in the show, the showrunners, John Cooksey and Allie Marie Matheson. I'll get into them in a second because there's a whole rabbit hole to go into how interesting they are as people too. But basically, they're the reasons that the show is as dark as it is. Like they pick up, what's established in the pilot and then run with it and create this whole mythology. And I think they really push the envelope too much to the point that Disney is uncomfortable with it. So when Cara Delizia is like, I kind of want to leave the show, Disney's like, cool, that works for us.
Let's change everything.
Fire the showrunners that we don't like, which they do. And the show is retooled for the 3rd season, and and just becomes a radically different show. And like, I am a defender of a lot of aspects of the third season in that I think if you separate it from the first 2 seasons of the show as just one standalone 26 episode thing, because it is just not the same show at all. It is fun, and I think in a lot of ways still like often better written than a lot of other kids shows at the time, because a lot of the staff writers still stayed around. So like the individual episodes are still like there's a lot of like well constructed episodes, and character writing is often really good. But anything mythology wise, like the color palette is suddenly like bright and like a bunch of pastels and shit. The humor gets a little weird and a lot more sitcom-y, and the storylines just like are become a little more like your standard what you would expect from a Goosebumps or something like that. Alex Johnson is I think a bright spot in that show. I think that she does as good as she possibly can, and she's gone on to fame since then, and like I've heard her in interviews, she seems like a lovely person. So like, you know, it's not her fault at all. I think she's really as good as she can be in that season, but you know, it's definitely, you're okay if you just stop at the end of season 2, and that's perfectly fine.
Well, the end of season 2 also feels like a great end of the series. It felt final. And I will say, I do think that having this new character on, having her be a musician, gives her and Mackenzie Phillips a chance to do more performing in season 3. I didn't see any of the songs, but there were a lot listed on Wikipedia, and maybe they were better than just Mackenzie. Okay, well then, never mind. We're getting the best ones in this episode.
They're fun songs. They are perfectly fun songs. Okay. But I think the thing that I like about, we will talk about the music in this episode, obviously, because it's very important to it. So good. But another thing that I think I really loved about the music in this show is that like the songs are written with such intention. Like John Cooksey, one of the showrunners, wrote all the lyrics to these songs, and it's sort of like where would the character be to be at a place where she writes these songs? So it's not like they're just trying to come up with a song that like, one example from season 3 is that there's a song called Voodoo that Molly sings about voodoo that just happens to be in an episode about voodoo that has, and I don't know why she would write a song about voodoo that has something to do with love or whatever. I don't know, but it's like, what was really strong about these is that like they're pulling from like experiences in this character's backstory, or like experiences. Sometimes like there's an episode where Molly, finds out that a friend of the family is getting a divorce and sees how it's affecting the kid. A couple episodes later, you start hearing her write a song called New Math that is about the experience that a kid goes through in divorce. Like they were always really well done. I think one of the best songs in the show, arguably the best song in the show, is The Rock from the episode Banshee, which is also one that I would recommend you watch. It's also probably one of the best episodes of the show. Oh, cool. But it's literally like, it is a song that she wrote for her father that is written from her father's perspective, having left Ireland. So Ireland is the rock that he's leaving, but it's also simultaneously about her experience with her father being emotionally withholding. So her father is also the rock at the same time. Like, it's so fucking smart. Like, it's just good, well-written music in addition to just like being bops and jams and like being really good to set a montage to, you know?
Yeah. We're going to have so much fun with this episode because we get to dive into that music, and Phillips is fantastic. The songs, when they're haunting. When they make you bob your head, they make you bob your head. Like at one point in time I wrote, this has a really Lisa Loeb vibe. And then I crossed it out in my notes. And then I thought like, no, this is what Lisa Loeb does. Like sometimes they're bops and sometimes they're haunting. And that was the best allegory I could find for this sort of singer-songwriter rock star. Yeah.
I get a lot of Melissa Etheridge vibes from her, but I think Lisa Loeb's a really good pull too. Maybe a better pull than Melissa Etheridge,
they're both super gay. So it's like, you know,
it's kind of in that sphere though, right? You know, like the type of rocker that she is.
Yeah.
Can you hear it? This place must be swarming with unsettled spirits. Can you see it?
Is the man on the road a ghost?
Don't turn around, because once you do, you won't believe it. Step inside it, the Phillips family tour bus, for a road trip into the paranormal.
She can predict the future.
It's so weird, with Fee and her rock star mom working together to solve the mysteries of the unknown.
That was really freaky.
So weird. It's every week and it's only on Disney Channel.
Disney Channel is getting so weird. Meet Fee.
Cybergirl's looking for little green Martians again.
She's got a rock star mom. She lives on a tour bus.
By the time we hit 55, it's lights out.
And every week,
come on,
explore the unknown with Fee.
A ghost. Hi,
and find out why her life is so weird. Already named one of the top 10 shows for kids, only on Disney Channel.
Are Fridays feeling weird?
I'm scared.
Could be, because tomorrow is the beginning of a whole new season of So Weird.
Are you okay?
With a never-before-seen episode of So Weird every Friday night. It's a new season of strange encounters.
Come back!
New nightmares.
This is all just a dream.
And many mysteries to uncover. So if your Fridays are feeling weird, you'll know why. Don't miss the start of a brand new season of So Weird. Tomorrow, starting at 7/6 Central, only on Disney.
So this episode, it is called Encore. The original air date is June 24th, 2000. The synopsis per IMDb is an interlude episode of the series, which features reflections and best moments from different episodes. It sounds like absolute hot garbage based on that synopsis.
That's a D- synopsis IMDb. Like we have seen so much better from you. We have seen worse, but that did not do this episode justice.
No, because you would read it and be like, oh, that just sounds like a shitty clip show. And like, what's funny is that it is a clip show, but it's probably the best clip show I have ever seen in the history of TV, personally.
Yeah. It's a clip show from we'll obviously talk about this in the gimmicks of the episode. It's a clip show in the mechanics of it, but it's not a clip show like any other clip show I've ever seen. Yeah. Truly and honestly.
Yeah. So the episode, I mentioned it before, it was written by John Cooksey and Allie Marie Matheson. They are probably the two most important people in the creation of this show, because they are really responsible for, like, you know, the pilot was created before they came on, but they really they found things in the pilot and latched onto them and expanded on them and created this like really interesting mythology going forward from it. So they both have backgrounds that kind of, I think, crafted the DNA of the show. It makes a lot of sense when you hear where they came from, because Cooksey says he started writing horror stories at the age of 10 to cope with his parents' divorce, which then you watch the show, the way that it uses horror and the supernatural to like deal with, you know, real world things and like weighty subjects and like familial drama. Makes a lot of sense.
How dare you use art to trick me into being your therapist? How dare you?
Matheson, meanwhile, also really interesting, but she's the daughter of celebrated author Richard Matheson, who wrote I Am Legend and Hell House.
Oh, shit.
Right. Yep.
Oh my God, that's a pedigree right there.
Uh-huh.
Wow.
Like, need I say more? But I will anyway.
Wow.
But, they were married at the time they were doing the show, so they were writing partners on a lot of projects. They divorced in like 2013, but they wrote on a lot of projects together when they were together. They wrote together on Rugrats before this, as well as The Outer Limits, which like I think both make sense, right? Because The Outer Limits obviously spooky show, but Rugrats like is a show that I think was notable for being for children about babies, but will often like have a lot of layered in subtext and things that adults appreciate at the same time. So makes sense how they'd end up on a show like this. And after So Weird, together they went on to create the Canadian supernatural series, The Collector, which also dealt with like hell and demons and stuff like that. So
have you seen this? Because I saw this in the notes and I looked it up and I was like, wow, this seems like my jam.
I've never actually watched it because it wasn't like, I remember when it came out, like I was interested in following it because I was interested in them from So Weird, but it was, you know, in what, like 2004 or whatever. Yeah, it's hard to find Canadian shows from Canada that they aren't airing here. And I've never sought it out since then. So I don't know what it's like.
Maybe a winter break experiment.
Yeah. Separately, Cooksey went on to produce sci-fi shows like Primeval New World and Killjoys, I think is one of the most recent ones. While Matheson did do one more project with Disney Channel in writing Halloween Town 2, Calabar's Revenge.
I'm not familiar with the Halloween Town series.
You're not familiar with it?
No. I don't know who Calabar is and why he needs revenge.
The first one is really, some people would fight me on this. I think the first one's really the only one really worth watching. Okay, great. The sequels are fun and cute because the charm of the first one is that it is a Disney Channel original movie, so it's made for the budget of like $1, but sure. It's got Debbie Reynolds in it as their grandma who's a witch, and she's like in full campy glory. And even as cheaply as it's made, there are some like cool practical effects because it is just like people, like Halloween Town is literally just like a town of monsters or whatever. So it's people in silly costumes. There's a really fun skeleton animatronic that I love to death. Like it's really well done. It's fun. It is a fun, probably like 80-minute movie that you can just watch one day for Halloween. It's extremely cute.
I've got the whole month here, so let's go.
Yeah. The episode was directed by Larry Sugar, who's an executive producer throughout the whole series. But interestingly, he only directed 2 episodes. He directed this episode, and then he directed the series finale, which is another much worse clip show.
Yes.
It's way more of a
Can
standard
confirm.
clip show.
Watched it when I saw the synopsis, said it was a clip show. I was like, oh, are we doing this again?
Real
And Derek, I didn't make it through it.
It's real bad. I mean, it's like, there are some gems in the third season that I think are really, really fun episodes. It's a god-awful series finale. I don't think even the whole cast even appears in the episode. Like, it's a silly concept and just not good.
They lose their memories for magical reasons, and she has to remind them through anecdotes. I actually like that as a framing device on paper. Delivery didn't work.
Also, the show's just proven that it's smarter than that. Like, it doesn't need a framing device like that either, you know?
Yeah.
But he also was a producer on the Sci-Fi Channel series First Wave and worked with Cooksey and Matheson on The Collector. So they stuck together a little bit.
Ooh, fun. You asked me what other episodes I listed or I watched, and I forgot to list that I watched Snapshot specifically because I saw that it was directed by Melissa Joan Hart.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was.
I know
it was fine.
her sister appears in an episode. Does she appear in that one or does she appear in a different one?
What? No, if she did, I did not clock her.
Yeah,
and
I don't remember.
What a shame, because you know how I love Melissa Joan Hart.
Yeah, I don't remember, but yeah. That's also like not a great one either. That one joke about season 3, I said it's sort of like, I think there's 2 episodes in a row. One episode about them being stuck in photos, another episode about being stuck in a painting, back to back.
Ooh, ouch.
Yeah. And it's like, you know, I hate to just like be ragging on that season or whatever, because people have been doing that since 2003 or whatever, but like, yeah, it's true.
The problem is that you've got this water line from the first 2 seasons that is just impossible to achieve again. I think Delizia is too good to really just find another actor to continue this series. Like it does have a little bit of a Mulder got kidnapped by aliens problem. Like not having the star power of Delizia really hurt season 3.
Yeah. I will say, just before we move on, while we're on the topic of episodes you watched, I think another one, the werewolf one, you should definitely watch, but also there's an episode in early season 2 called Siren that features Jewel State pre-Firefly as that titular siren, and it's a really well done. It's also the episode that introduces the character of Carrie. Oh. And yeah, it's good. It's very good. Jewel State was a Disney kid first because she was on a Canadian show called Flash Forward that Disney then sort of retroactively made it one of their first original series after becoming a basic cable channel. And so she was on that. And so then she shows up on So Weird as sort of like from Disney Channel's Flash Forward, Jewel State guest stars. And she's really, really, really good in that episode.
Wow.
It's one of my favorite episodes of the show.
Wow. Okay, cool. I will have to. I missed a lot of these good ones, Derek.
I mean, here's the problem is that, and I truly, I don't say this lightly, but like season 2 is 26 episodes. Almost every single one of them is an absolute fucking banger. Like there's no bad, I would argue there's no bad episode in season 2. There's a couple of episodes that are like just okay, but they're still fun. They range from being like extremely dark and incredibly well done, or it's like, there's a silly one where Fee turns into a dog. It's still a really good one because it plays on the comedy. It's meant to be a stupid, silly episode.
Yes. And we get a little bit of flavor of that in season 3, episode 1, because her brother turns into a dog.
Yeah, it's played better in the season 2 episode, but
I would have to assume.
No, so many good episodes. There's also an episode, I'm sorry, I'm just going to keep naming off good ones, but there's a episode called Roswell is also one of my favorites and a really emotional one. And then the one called Fathom is a Molly centric episode about her falling in love with a merman. And you see like a little bit of that in this episode. That's the guy with the scales on his face that you see at the beginning in that clip.
Oh, and she's with him in that. Yes.
Yeah, it's a really, really good one as well, especially for like being a Molly centric episode, and has a song that you only hear in that episode. That's also one of my favorites from this show.
Well, and Derek specifically invited me to watch the, what was it called? The Strange Geometry episode, which was the one about the Fibonacci sequence. But in that, it's a pretty important for the series arc of finding her dad, figuring out what's going wrong. But what dropped my jaw to the floor is that her mom came into the spirit world with her, and it was no longer like this is only happening to me, no one believes me. Like, we just broke right through that and brought other characters into the supernatural, which was, what a swing. Swing.
Yeah, I think this does that a handful of times, and I think that it's always really smart. I think it actually oftentimes does it better than I think X-Files did with Scully, because I think that it made it so absolutely clear. Like, if a character confronted the supernatural, it was so clear that like they were in denial, and they made it part of their character if they weren't believing it. Or like they do really smart stuff with Molly. She's very often telling Fee like, I don't know what I saw, but I believe that you believe something. And it's like this roundabout shit where it's sort of like, so you know that something supernatural happened, and you are just so opposed to believing it. And I think because they have the backstory of their father also having been obsessed with the supernatural, and the idea that like that might have been what led to him dying, of course they're going to be in denial and pushing back about it, because they don't want to believe that that's the situation happening again.
Yeah, it's so good. It's so good. Mackenzie Phillips also just really a great mom, super hot in this too. Just really a hot rock star mom.
And what a wild pull for Disney to do it. Like, I actually think, like, I wonder what Disney executives thought, because like at this time, I think she had been like most of the stuff she'd been in the news for had been like talking openly about like sexual abuse from her father and like all of her drug problems. And it's like, for Disney, a company that's like very like, we are squeaky clean about everything, to like allow her into this show, given that, like, and it's a gift. Like, her, I think she brings so much weight to this show, I think because of her own life experiences, and probably I think really empathizing with the character that she's playing, and like that grief and everything. Like, it brings so much to this show. And I honestly can't imagine Disney doing the same thing today, allowing that to happen.
No. I think that, I don't know that children have really changed, but the way that we treat children has changed.
Yep, absolutely.
And that's why this wouldn't be allowed. I think children would be hungry for this kind of content, but they're just not allowed to view it anymore.
I agree. So, the gimmick of this episode, why I chose this one. It's one of my favorite episodes of TV ever, because it's so fucking cool. We've talked around it. It's a clip show. It's a concert episode. It's a musical episode, technically. Kind of sort of a bottle episode. It's everything.
I wrote this later in the notes. It's a smorgasbord of gimmicks. It's like you saw them on the buffet and you said, I'll take one of each, please. Pile them on.
Yeah. Yes. So it's a clip show, in that obviously there's clips in the episode. A significant portion of the episode's running time does consist of like reused footage and moments of other episodes that you see periodically. There isn't like the narrative is not particularly complicated. There's really not much of a true plot to this episode. There's a lot of character stuff, but in terms of like moving parts, there really isn't a lot of it. The other thing though that's really interesting about it is that the way this clip show is presented is that it's through an entire set of a Molly Phillips concert, which we've never seen before. We've seen snippets of it. A lot of times episodes would take place at like rehearsals or something.
Lot of rehearsals.
Yeah, lots of rehearsals. We very rarely will see her actually performing, and if we do, it's usually like a quick clip of it, and then they cut to something else happening, or her song continues to play like it's an apropos song over a montage in the climax of the episode, right? So this is the first time we're really just seeing the majority of the episode's runtime just devoted to full performances.
Yeah.
4 songs this time that we've never heard in full before. And there's really only a few backstage narrative scenes kind of bookending those 4 songs.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's well shot, but it's also shot in such a way that you can tell that it didn't have to be reshot a lot. It's a lot of portraiture of Molly. We do a couple cranes with the audience, but this episode was probably cheaper than other episodes of the show.
Oh, for sure. And I think that's why I still say it's kind of a bottle episode. Obviously, there's an audience, so there's technically tons of people on set, but like most of those people are just extras that have no lines that are probably getting paid like $10 or some shit. There's no special effects. Like, the most lighting is like concert lighting. They probably, they just went to the space, probably installed a few lights over top, and then had like a PowerPoint slideshow being in the background. That's really all they got to do for like their lighting and effects, Yep. It also is only in that, because it's a full concert set. It's just that location, right? It's the space she's performing on. Backstage is probably backstage in whatever building they were in.
Probably. Yeah, because it doesn't need to be anything more than that. So why wouldn't they just film in the backstage?
Yeah. Also, like, Is it just me, or like does this concert venue doesn't look like a concert venue? It looks like a lecture hall at like a college campus.
It is 100% a lecture hall at the University of the British of Columbia. I guarantee you, if I pick up the phone to some UBC colleagues and ask them to take pictures of lecture halls, we would know where this was filmed.
It's so funny.
I guarantee you this was at a college.
Yeah,
I'm really glad you brought that up because I didn't want to rag on it. I was like, okay, this is Derek's favorite episode, but this is my girl. You don't perform in places like this.
No. And it's like, it's funny too, because it's sort of like my biggest criticism of this episode, that's otherwise kind of a perfect episode. Biggest criticism is like the actual, like the look of the venue doesn't look like a concert venue. And the audience, it's also just like a bunch of like middle-aged people just sitting in chairs, smiling as she's performing. And I'm like, the extras were not instructed that they're at a rock concert at all. They are absolutely not.
Here's the deal though, not to fix a 25-year-old episode of television, but you could easily have said she was performing on a college campus. They put performers into lecture halls all the time and then grab some college students and have them be a little bit more raucous. But yeah, you're right. The audience is a lot older than I would picture for a Molly Phillips concert.
Yeah. But also not really though, because she is someone who has been performing since she was young. Like the whole story of the situation.
show
is that she was in a band, probably like, I think it's meant to be like in the late 70s, like early 80s with her husband and John from the Strange Geometry episode. So like, and this is sort of like her first foray as a solo artist years later. So it does make sense that people would be fans of hers from her early days, you know, in the same way that people like go see a Paul McCartney concert or something now, right? Like stuff, music that you maybe even grew up with or were a teenager when Molly was a teenager are now, you know, are going with her now or seeing her now. I think I think the age group makes sense. It just, aren't really. They still would be a little bit rowdier.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've been to a Stevie Nicks concert. Like we would like, it was a lot more excited than these folks were at this.
Yeah.
Like a lot more.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, making of the episode wise, like, you know, we've talked a lot about the weird backstory of this show and everything like that. This is something that I think like, Disney merchandises the shit out of everything, right?
Yeah.
And especially like shows after this, they specifically will position usually young girls who they want to be pop stars. So then they could always like have them sing on an episode of the show and then have that single released and then eventually like get him an album or whatever. This show, despite being about a rock star who has really good music, they never officially released the music ever. Ever.
Incredible that I couldn't find it on Spotify. I know that it's up on YouTube, but it's just incredible that I couldn't find more of these songs because they really are very good songs.
Yeah, it's only on YouTube because one of the producers was just like, yeah, the fans deserve it, and just I think like leaked it. And I don't know who I have an idea who the producer was, but don't know for sure. And then fans just, you know, put it online, and luckily like Disney's never taken down those YouTube videos. But it's like, so I'm thankful that it's there, but it took, you know, until just like a few years ago really till you could find it. And it was like the best day of my life when I could hear like Love Is Broken in the full 7-minute song Unbroken for the first time in my life with no like dialogue over it or whatever. It was such a gift. But yeah, it was never officially released. So I think that, and I think at this point, because this is towards the end of the second season, it's a very shortly before Cooksey and Matheson are fired from the show by Disney. Right. And like, I think it was unexpected, but I feel like there was probably an inkling that they knew that it could potentially be coming because there had been so much pushback about the tone of the show, and things that they wouldn't let them do or whatever, and stuff that they did anyway, regardless. So I think that part of it was sort of like, here's sort of our, what could potentially be a parting gift to the fans, and it ultimately was, of like, here's 4 of our best songs that you will hear in full, like Unbroken. Yeah. Like there's the only edit is like In the Darkness has like 1 verse missing from it that I think was cut from time. Like if you hear the theme song, like Out of the Shadows of My Life, you don't hear it in the full song because it's from the verse that was cut from the episode. Oh. You can hear that on YouTube now, but like, that's the only cut. Otherwise, these are the full songs. And like for years until it got leaked, like the only music that you could find in the show would just be people ripping these songs from this episode and like putting that on YouTube to listen to. That's how I would hear. I have it imprinted in my head that the full version of In the Darkness doesn't have that verse and has like a little bit of Jack sigh at the beginning. Like that has been implanted in my head because I listened to that so much before you could eventually find the full versions of the songs. All of that is to say, it was definitely, I think, as much as it was an important episode for the narrative of the show and the characters, and probably a money-saving episode too, it definitely works as a gift to the fans because the music is so important to the show.
Yeah, and you can tell there's a lot of love there, which is really a lot of fun too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Demons come from every side. In the darkness is the light. Out of the shadows of my life. In the darkness is the light. In the darkness is the light. Surrender will win the fight. This girl's walked on fire and ice, but I come out on the other side of paradise.
Well, let's get into this episode, and we start right away, as this entire series does, straight to credits, and the credits play under this fantastic song that Derek has mentioned a lot. Definitely not a set of credits to be skipped. I will also say there are a lot of ghosts in the credits, so they're a little spooky. You know what you're getting into here. We got a great little title sequence. It's every character with their names showing up, and just a little bit about who they are, like you like to see in a late 90s, early 2000s television show. And we go straight from those credits into a very unique scene that I'm excited for us to talk about. Molly is sitting in a dark room addressing the audience, but directly at the camera, as if this is sort of a behind the scenes interview, telling us about her earliest experiences with performing, how it connected her to her late husband, Rick, but how her performance and how performing so much so recently is starting to make everything feel very unreal.
Performing has always been a way for me to express the things that I can't say any other way. I think it started when I was around 4, and I used to dance around the living room while my dad played the piano, and then I'd poke him if he didn't applaud. The first time I saw Rick, he was on stage, and I could tell that he loved it just as much as I did, connecting with people that way. Performing with him was like being one person. Those are some of my favorite memories of our time together. I've been on the road as a solo for almost 2 years now. I still love it, but I sometimes wonder if it's starting to do things to my head. See, I think the downside of being on stage too much is that everything starts to feel a little unreal. And I've never experienced that like I have on this tour.
And this is where we get the first few clips of the episode, both her and Rick performing, which we've seen as videos that the characters watched in previous episodes, and some weird moments that the character Molly specifically has witnessed throughout the show.
Yes. And I think for context, for if you're listening and just have never watched the show before, like every episode of this show will start with a little bit of like some kind of quick narration, usually from Fee. Sometimes it differentiated a little bit. Jack's actually done it a couple of times. But usually it'll be Fee sort of narrating. Either it'll be like introducing the concept or giving you a little backstory on this interesting urban legend, like a little mini history lesson about like where this particular type of like cryptid comes from. Right. So it's not out of the norm to have like an introduction to the episode narrated by a character, but I think this is the only instance that Molly ever does it herself, I believe, unless I'm forgetting something from season 3. I know at least in the first 2 seasons, I think this is the only time that it's Molly doing any sort of introduction or narration.
Well, and those introductions are almost, I have not seen every episode, but they're all the ones I saw are voice over either a montage of scenes that are telling the story, or there's a couple where it's Fee doing other things in the world while she narrates what she's doing, which are fun. They're great. They're great sets. But having this one be directly to camera it was just a little, it was a little like off-putting, I guess.
Yeah.
But like intentionally, like I'm not saying unintentionally.
Oh, it definitely makes you feel like it's going to be a weird episode. Like it definitely weird, but like it definitely differentiates it from anything. Like even if it weren't weird for Molly to be doing a narration at all, the fact that, she's in a dark room talking directly to you as if you're watching like a testimonial or something, or like this, this would be some kind of interview or like behind the scenes interview that you'd see on like a Molly Phillips, like a DVD of a concert or something like that.
Yeah, behind the scenes is exactly the vibe I was getting, and like a confessional, but like an old confessional, like an old Road Rules confessional, because you can catch just at the bottom right hand corner when it starts to pan, just a wrinkle of the fabric that you can tell this is just pipe and drape. This was a quick set and film, and I think that like enhanced the unrealism, because why would I be watching something like this and then watching a concert, which is so cool because it's setting me on edge.
Yeah. Yes. It's a really cool introduction to it. And I think it's smart too, that like when they introduce it, the only clips that you see in this are things that Molly specifically witnessed. Like it's particularly, I think it's specifically from Strange Geometry and from Fathom, the Merman episode, I think are the only, and Singularity too. It's when all the baseballs fall out of the sky. So it's like 2 episodes that are particularly like where she very specifically interacts with the supernatural and like really can't deny it. And then like one where she just like sees something weird happen. Like, I think that's really important because it is literally the things that she is probably actually thinking about as she's saying these words, which is really, really cool.
Yeah, it's and it also sets up the sort of central conflict of the episode for what it is. Like, you don't usually expect clip shows to have broad sweeping impacts on series long arcs, but this one does. And it is sort of these fighting energies within Molly of performing is an important part of my ego, who I am in the world, but it's also putting my family in danger. And that's represented by this unrealness.
Yeah, absolutely.
So cool. Well, from there, we go backstage, and during an intermission between sets at her concerts, guitarist Carrie asks if she'd be up for doing an encore that night, holding back the set and saying, we'll really make them work for it. But Molly's not interested in encore. She never has been, and she's not tonight. She simply says, when the show's over, it's over. And that's when we get the first sense that something else is going on for Molly tonight.
Also, in like the meta sense too, it's why I really do think that like, I've listened to interviews with John Cooksey, and so I don't know if he's really spoken to this exactly when they started kind of getting the idea that they probably would be fired, but I wouldn't be surprised if like, it feels like in the meta sense that it's sort of like, we might be done soon. Like the show that we're making just might actually just be over and we're going to have to deal with that, you know? Because a lot of this episode does feel kind of like really wanting to wrap things up.
It feels it does feel like I'm about to watch a 3-episode series finale. It truly and honestly does. The next episode has very little to contribute to that. The episode after that, which is the season finale, feels really endy.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Molly's clearly got some things in her mind, which Ned, her roadie, and Irene, her manager, notice.
You okay?
Oh, yeah, I've got some things on my mind.
Is there anything I can do?
No. Hey, baby.
I'm worried about her.
Yeah, she didn't touch her bagel this morning. And I drove all over the city looking for that cream cheese with the chives mixed into it.
Want to talk about Ned right now?
Yeah, did you see my note that says, when do I get to talk about Ned? That layered look, gruff voice, roadie, and a former biker. Oh, man, this man is everything I want and more.
Oh, God. It was too late in my life for me to say that it was like a formative crush necessarily, but it definitely was a major crush that has stuck with me for the rest of my life. And that's one that I very frequently look to by comparison of like, what am I into? Well, it's definitely that.
Very, very hard to find pictures of the character who is named Ned Bell, but there is a Ned Bell celebrity chef from Vancouver.
Oh, wow. That's good to know.
You should look him up too, just at your leisure.
Fun fact that'll be fun for some people. He was the original voice of the Dragon Ball Z character Ox King in the dub early on, which, I mean, his voice is perfect for cartoons and anime, right? You know,
he has such a good voice. I mean, we get very little of Ned in this episode. He's great in the pilot. He has such an important pilot character in the pilot episode, which is part of what makes the pilot great.
Yes. He doesn't get a ton of screen time over the course of the show, but anytime he does, it really shines. If you want a good Ned-centric episode, the episode Mutiny from season 2 is like, I mean, you see some bad shades of him because it's about him getting kind of possessed a little bit. So he gets very like angry, but you know what? Maybe you'd be into him angrily yelling at you. Actually, that might even be better.
you know that I want a project. I want to fix Ned. And he's unfixable in all these episodes because he's just a positive force of happiness.
Yeah, he's kind of perfect, actually.
He is kind of perfect. But one of the things that's on Molly's mind is daughter Fee, who tries to convince her mom that the weird things that's been happening while they've been on tour are connected to her father.
It has to all be connected, Mom. Dad being into the paranormal like me, his car accident. I mean, even the places we've ended up on tour, the people we've met. Can't you feel it? It's like we're being guided by something.
Fiona,
I think Dad was starting to figure it out when he died. Like he saw another world. He believed in the spirit world. He knew there was evil out there.
Fiona, I just don't know if this is healthy. For you, for all of us.
And now, one more time, put your hands together for Molly Phillips!
I can't just stop, Mom. I have to finish what Daddy started.
One thing that I think it actually, this is super like in the weeds nerdy or whatever, but like this is one case where I actually think the episode order does really help. Like in a lot of ways, the ordering of the episodes for So Weird doesn't really matter that much. Like they're very good about keeping the episode sort of self-contained. There's only a couple of cases like the strange geometry thing where it carries directly into the next episode. For the most part, it doesn't really matter. I think there's a nice flow in the production order, but like it's not necessary. This is one case where I do think if you watch it in their intended order, I do think it plays a little bit better because the way that they intended the episode before this was meant to be Destiny, which is the episode where Fee gets explicitly told by a spirit being that, you know, her father like was onto something and his body and like his soul was basically pulled out of his body. But like before he was intended to die, essentially is what she learns. And so it sort of would make sense that like she's basically validated that like this isn't just me and like my dad's vague ghost. Like there was actually an evil force at play that caused my dad's death. So it makes sense that like she would be in this like emotional state when you get to this episode. As it airs, there's a lot of episodes in between, and the episode before it doesn't really play into this one at all. I think the episode before it as aired was Shelter, right? The one where she turns into a dog, I think.
Yes, it was. I saw it.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't watch it, but I saw it in the descriptions.
Yeah.
Just to read through what was happening. Yeah.
So it's that's a weird one to come up right before this episode because it's a comedy one, and then suddenly she's like very emotional. I think it's still, as an episode, I think it still works because she's still dealing with all the stuff she's been dealing with throughout the entire show. Yeah. So like you can just assume that like she just happens to have been thinking about this. It just works a little bit better, I think, if you have a pretty big revelation come right before it, you know?
Yes. I watched this right after the Christmas episode because of the autoplay. And I thought it was well delivered. And again, I think a lot of that's Delicia. Like, I think she sold me that she was convinced of this. And part of that was name dropping this Another World song, which was this song that her dad wrote that Fee thinks is about the spirit world. And I think that also helped convince me of what was happening in this scene.
Yeah, you can just assume like she has just been thinking about this right before the episode started, and it works. Yeah, it works really well.
Yeah, she absolutely sold her motivation on this. I had no issue believing that.
So that takes us to our first song that we hear in full, which is More Like a River, which is this really, really nice acoustic ballad about grief and learning to feel again and moving on.
There's a house in the mountains filled with bits of me and you. I had a dream there, but morning came too soon. I've been holding on, it's been holding me back. I don't want to give in, but I know what you'd say to me. Finish this dream. Can I be more like a river, less like a wall, not try to hold back these feelings at all? 'Cause when I miss you, when I'm dying to kiss you, I gotta let that flow. More like a river.
Yeah, it's great. There are some great clips that play over this song. Actually, I shouldn't say play over, because we sort of flip back and forth from watching clips to watching Molly perform. It's very seamless. It's actually very, I guess for the haunting songs, it's more impactful. For the rock songs, it actually evokes a lot of that terror and fear. So for this one, we do have a great job of showing clips of young Molly and Rick that we've seen. And it's notable in that this was the first of Molly's songs to be heard on the show other than In the Darkness.
Yeah. In the first season, they don't really have a lot of, like, they have her play In the Darkness. You hear her sing Rebecca in the Rebecca episode. And then More Like a River is like the only other song they have. And that's sort of their kind of incidental one, where it's like, if they want a song that's not In the Darkness, they'll play More Like a River in that first season. I think you hear that in like the third episode or something like that. So it's like an important song in the history of the show for being the first time it's not their theme song that she plays. So it makes a lot of sense that they would include it. And it feels like a very good emotional start if you're trying to establish Molly thinking about her dead husband, you know?
Yeah. I'll also say this song teases you with the bridge. You think that we're about to go bridge and chorus, and there's like an extra verse that is not part of usual songwriting, which is why I got such a singer-songwriter vibe from this. That's why this felt a little off to me. Not off, like it's great music. I don't mean to say that it's bad, just that, you know, there is a standard verse, bridge, chorus, you know, like, and this threw it off just a little bit.
Yeah, well, I think it makes it feel, because it makes her feel a little more indie, I think, where it's just sort of like she's kind of not interested in playing within the commercial confines, right? Like she's sort of like, I want to be a little bit different with my music.
Yeah, wild considering the third song we'll get to and some of the arc that we saw in season 2.
My God, yeah. I'll also point out too, this goes for pretty much in this episode specifically, all the songs, lyrics written by John Cooksey himself, who I've mentioned, one of the showrunners. The actual music accompaniment was Anne-Marie Montade. For all of the songs except this song. For this song, the music was done by Brent Belk, who is a former punk rocker, which is sort of interesting that this is the song that he's doing the music for, because it's a very not punk rock song.
Right. This one I feel like you could do if you knew enough acoustic guitar to get to like 3 chords. Which great songs are written with 3 chords, but like a punk song. Wow. I would have picked, I guess I would have picked Into the Darkness if I was going to go for something that was a little bit more punky.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how they acquire these people, you know, like I think that he was already working in film composition or, you know, music score composition at a time. And he just happened to be available. And then Montade becomes like their permanent mainstay, you know, after that or something like that. I don't know.
Got it.
But yeah. I thought that was kind of interesting.
That is cool.
I also think it's interesting too, like another thing that I think sets it apart a little bit from your standard clip show is that like, it doesn't start with just clips from the show that you are excited to see. Like these are clips in that this is footage you've seen before, but it's all footage you've seen like in videos that they'll watch. Sometimes you'll see videos of Molly and Rick rocking together, or, you know, home videos that they took, or you've seen flashbacks about it. Usually like there's some that are from the Christmas episode where Fee is specifically traveling back in time. But for the most part, it's like just, you know, Molly thinking about stuff and thinking about her husband. So it's clips in that it's your recycled footage in the same way you'd have a clip show, but like these are not your best of moments from the show, which I think is a really fascinating way to start this off. It is just meant to be like, it makes sense that Molly would be thinking about Rick, and it gets you into her mindset of thinking about Rick and her family going forward. That plays into the rest of the episode. So I love the intentionality of how they choose these clips, I guess.
Well, and the diegetic music that's going on matches the theme and tones of all of the clip montages that we get for these 4 songs.
Yeah, it's really, I mean, it really is like, these are kind of music videos for each of the songs because they're all very fitting. They're all very fitting for the songs that are playing.
That's such an apt way to refer to it, as like a music video.
Yeah. Yeah. It's good.
Well, after the song, we get a quick trip backstage where brother Jack is chastising Fee about bothering Molly right before she goes on stage and pressuring her into believing the greater mystery.
And now you're even bugging her right before she goes on stage.
Thank you.
It's not fair that you keep pressuring her into believing all the stuff you keep seeing.
Just because you don't want to believe the truth, Jack, doesn't mean Mom doesn't want to.
Fee, just because you and Dad shared a hobby doesn't mean you're right about everything.
I know what I've seen, Jack, and you can't talk me out of that.
I know it's a really short scene, so it's like you don't really get a lot of Jack in this episode. I am curious, given your sampling of the show, what your feelings on Jack, as you know, he's he's meant to be the Scully of the
He's a
show,
Scully.
but he's also like the big brother, the kind of annoying big brother sometimes.
He's a
I'm really
shithead
curious
big
about
brother.
your feelings on him.
I love Jack. I am a Jack apologist. There's a man I want to fix. There's a man I want to fix when he becomes 48. But yeah, he's kind of a shithead, but I buy it. I buy every time that he's kind of being just a jerk to his younger sister. It feels very earned every time they have something. And then they're more emotionally connective moments, therefore then also feel more earned than if he had always just been on the right side. Like the Clue, Eric Von Deeten, was always sort of more of a believer of Fee. And so their relationship was harder for me to feel authentic about because there was no balance to work with versus Jack, who always was like, no, I don't believe you. I don't believe you. And then something happens, like he gets possessed by some sort of will-o-wisp. And then I buy their whole thing a little bit more.
Yeah, I think he's one that I think was interesting. I think you really do see him grow over the course of the show too, because like the way he's written in the pilot is like almost sometimes he's like unbearably mean to his sister, and I think that kind of persists in the first season, and then by season 2, I think they kind of mellow him out a lot, but it doesn't feel like a reworking of the character so much as it feels like he is literally getting older and starting to recognize like, you know, just maturing and also starting to like deal with his own shit and recognize, you know, when his sister is actually going through something rather than always just being kind of a pest to her.
This was only a condition of me first watching the pilot and then Strange Geometry, but I thought there was actually a runner between them in that they always had giant sodas that got knocked over in the course of the conflict. And it only happened to those 2 episodes. It just happened that I watched them back to back.
I didn't even think about that, but you're so right. That's so funny.
They're giant. My God. Like the city of New York would not allow these sodas to be sold.
And Fee's drink. There's one. I don't remember if it's the pilot or Strange Geometry, but in one of them, she's like drinking with 2 straws in there. Well, I don't understand that.
Derek, it's like 128 fluid ounces. You need 2 straws. This thing it's liquid for days. My girl. Oh, look, there's no soda spilling in this episode, thankfully.
Yeah. There's things about this show that are so funny and like uniquely funny. Like there's the fact that happens a couple of times. Fee also like gets lost in the woods a lot. And they also like stay in so many bed and breakfasts in this show. And like, you're on a rock tour on a bus, like you're never staying at a hotel. You're always like out in the middle of Iowa staying at a bed and breakfast, which is nice. Like I like it, but it's just like, oh boy, like you're definitely writing this. So you could specifically stay on a farm to write a story about a farm. Like
I also thought they were going to do a thing about her laptop always breaking and then her somehow getting a new laptop, a la Stephanie Plum and Cars. But we only had that once or twice, and which is fine. It would have been a little goofy, but there were so many things that I felt like were close to runners that didn't get picked up on, which is fine because it's not even a serialized show, but it would have been really hilarious if they had picked one of these things to just always do.
Yeah, that is funny. I mean, yeah, her laptop crashes a couple times, gets stolen by gremlins another time. Her giant brick of a laptop, by the way. I love internet on this show because obviously it's like 1999 era where it's like giant computer, but also just Wi-Fi everywhere. Just always Wi-Fi. So much Wi-Fi all the time, everywhere. How did she have such good internet on this fucking moving bus in 1999?
I don't know, but she's always plugged in. She traps demons in her computer by unplugging the phone cord.
It's incredible.
Oh, and her font is the "you wouldn't steal a car" from the DVD menus, which is great. It's awesome. I beg all of you to find this webpage archived somewhere because it is incredible.
It's so good. There's also a very internet heavy. I mean, there's a couple of internet heavy ones. There's one where they like, I think, call out like there's like an online game that has like almost like 10,000 players on it. I think they're talking about like World of Warcraft or something. And I'm like, y'all have no idea where this is going.
According to IMDb, that was a rip on The Sims.
Oh, yeah.
To really date stamp that episode.
Yeah. Oh, there's that one. That one might be because there's a Sim City builder basically in the episode Lost from the first season where it's about like the computer getting connected with a girl in a coma, like classic, which is also, I like that one a lot. That's also a really nice emotional one. And an example of one of their episodes where like there's no like antagonist or villain at all. It is just sort of like a weird thing happens. It's more of like a force of nature kind of thing they're dealing with and find a solution to it.
Yeah, that's a good point. There's quite a few that really just, they're not about antagonism. They are about sort of resolving the oddness that is part of the environment.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. I love this show. So the next song, of course, this is a big one. This is probably my favorite like montage in the clip show, because it is In the Darkness, which is the show's theme song, obviously, that we're here in full. It is this haunting rock song. So, of course, they have to accompany it with all the coolest and creepiest clips from across the entire show so far.
Jungle hung with tangled vines. The darkness is alive. I'm tangled up in my own lines. The darkness is alive. A creature there in darkness lies. The darkness is alive. Why is it that he has my eyes? I've lived my life in one straight line. The future ahead and the past behind. Now I've hit a wall like I never knew, and they tell me the only way out is through. They say the truth will set me free. Yeah, the darkness is alive. Free me down here on my knees. Yeah, the darkness is alive. But just when I thought I lost my sight, in the darkness is alive. I catch a glimpse of that beautiful light. In the darkness is the light. Surrender will win the fight. This girl's walked through fire and ice, but I come out on the other side of paradise.
This was the scariest, just so that everyone's aware. This is where you see and there are a lot that come from Strange Geometry itself, like faces coming through muslin. And I will say that of all the effects that I saw, there's a great blend of a little bit of computer aid, but a lot of it was practically based, which I think is part of what makes it spookier. So I liked that.
Yeah, strange. Yeah, I made you watch Strange Geometry, of course, because it was important and to get better context of like the dad stuff, but also like, yeah, they're so proud of that like face in the wall effect, because you see basically every instance of it from that episode. You see it in this clip show.
Yeah, they do it from every angle, and they get them in this clip, and then another one they used the face in muslin flap clip again, which was so great.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, it is a really well done effect. I've never really seen anything particularly like it. So like, I think they should be proud of it. It's good and it's very creepy.
They absolutely should. And it is very effective. I mean, I will say that because this song is haunting. The imagery is a little spooky. You're getting set again on this kind of edge of like, which is perfect for us to cover for Spooky Month, but is also, I think, great for where the show needs to be directing its narrative at this point in the middle of the episode.
Yeah, because, and if you think about it, like Molly is supposed to be thinking about how unsafe and dangerous the tour has been. And even though, like, obviously, if you want to be literal about it, like these are mostly not things that she specifically experienced, but she was in the, in the sphere of these things happening. So of course she'd be thinking about the many times her kids almost died on tour or whatever, I have a lot of cool stuff about the song because obviously it's the theme song. So it's an important song in the show. First of all, this is like probably the only one up to this point you could have heard a version of in full, because Disney Channel did show a music video of it during season 1. And actually it's kind of similar. Like they just shoot Mackenzie Phillips just like singing in a dark space, and they do cut some clips in from season 1 along with it because it's the show theme song. It's way better done in this episode, but like it's a good effort for like a Disney Channel music video. Yeah. There's 2 versions of the theme song though. Like the season 1 theme song doesn't have those like sweet guitar riffs that they have. So like that version that you see in that music video is the original version. So this is still your first time hearing like the full guitar electric guitar version of the song.
Yeah, it's really good. This is the one that I think is the most. Well, I love oh my gosh, I love She Sells as well because it's very boppy. But this one is probably the biggest earworm of the four. It partially because I kept seeing it for the intro, but it like plays in my head now. It's very, very catchy.
It's a really well constructed song. It's one that like has a lot of depth to it too. Like they never delved into this on the show because obviously Disney wouldn't let them. They did want to. There was like an intended episode that was going to actually bring this up, but their backstory for Molly is that like she went through a period of being an alcoholic after her husband died, which is like very common for rock stars and like speaks to Mackenzie Phillips's own experience in real life too. And so a lot of this song was meant to be sort of about that aspect of her life of like being in the darkness and not being able to move forward, essentially, you know?
Yeah. I think that's wild because you earlier told me these people like wrote on Rugrats. So just to imagine them leaving that area and then coming over here and being like, oh yeah, like one of our main characters is a recovering alcoholic and now tours the United States, like investigating paranormal phenomena with her daughter who's always connected to the internet despite not having Wi-Fi. Like it's so incredible to think about. But I need to call attention to your next note here, which is about the series finale. Yes. Because when I read the research you had done on this, I screamed because this sounds so fucking metal.
Yeah. So, you know, the way that the season 2 ultimately ends because they have to write Fee off is that like she finds her, she gets to actually speak directly with the ghost of her dad. And he's just sort of like, I'm spoiling everything. I think you should just watch the show, but like for the sake of the conversation, like the way that they resolve everything, it's sort of like, yeah, I was stolen too young by the forces of evil because I was getting too close to like learning about the spirit world and everything. They never really like sizzly say like, what was he learning? I don't know. I guess that it existed or whatever is how it ultimately is. And then, so really the justification for everything is just sort of like, it was in the scope of the rules of the universe, it was unfair that I was taken too early and you were so young that you never got to have the experiences and memories with me that you by the rules of the universe should have had because I wasn't supposed to die this early. Right. And so, and now through the course of the show of like intersecting with her dad and sort of bonding with his mutual love of the supernatural and everything, and finally getting to actually talk to him, finally she gets to have the memories that she never had before, which is really beautiful. I think like it's a really nice, clean resolution to everything. There's a few dangling plots from the show that like never gets addressed, but like for the main plot, that is a really good resolution that honestly, considering that it was like had to be hastily rewritten, is surprising how clean and how much it works and how emotionally satisfying it is.
Was effective. I mean, I didn't tear up, but it did move me to have her have that little moment with her father. And it's almost like he inferred that because she didn't get memories with him, that's why she was so connected to the spiritual or the supernatural world, which was also not, I mean, it was a hasty ribbon, but it was a ribbon on the package. So you can't complain.
Yeah. So, and that only happened because of the shift in the show and Delizia leaving and the showrunners being fired, right? Originally, because they were ordered 65 episodes. So they planned, 3 full seasons of an arc. So they knew they did know where they were going to go after this episode. So originally the original ending, the long and short of it is essentially that like that stuff would happen, that episode would happen. She would get to talk to her dad, but instead of it just being like a nice pat, like now everything's fine, it was more going to be like, I've been trying to contact you because the truth about the spirit world is that there are evil forces that are trying to come into the world of the living. And it's really your job and destiny to prevent that evil from happening. And then, that 3-headed Grim Reaper, like pushes them off a building and they disappear and he ends up in hell, basically. And that's how the season would end.
Derek, I am beside myself that this series was going to go to HE double hockey sticks. I wish that we lived in the parallel world where this happened.
But like, you see why Disney fired the showrunners. Like they're like, we're not going to have characters literally go to, because that was going to be this, the rest of the next season would be a lot of tying up a lot of like dangling threads and leading up to Fee literally venturing to hell to rescue her father's soul. And the way that they would visualize hell would be to basically mimic the lyrics of this song. The song has, mentions like fire and ice, like this girl's walk through fire and ice, which works for a nice metaphor of Molly's journey. Also works if they're visualizing hell by literally showing Fee walking through fire and ice to rescue her father and then come out on the other side of paradise after rescuing her father.
I'm literally getting goosebumps. This would be so fucking cool.
And there's frequent times in the show that implies that Molly has premonitions. So you could argue that writing the song was Molly having a premonition, or what her daughter would eventually do in the series finale, just closing the loop on the whole show, essentially.
Yeah, I'll say that the clips on this are amazing. The idea that this is teasing that other story that never got to be told is now like retroactively heartbreaking. I love this, but I feel like I could have loved it 600 times more.
Right, because it would have been so satisfying. And like, again, I don't know that there's a universe that could have ever happened just because of it being a Disney Channel show, you know? Like, I feel like even if the showrunners had stayed on and Delizia stayed on, there would have been something that prevented that, because it's just too fucking wild.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
Literally go to hell. And I think too, like, someone on the So Weird podcast had brought this up with an interview with John Cooksey that I thought was a good point, is that like a lot of this show, I think a lot of the power of this show and why it speaks to people is like just really seeing people go through like real world grief for someone and learning to sort of live with that. And I think the implication is that like Fee wouldn't just go to hell and rescue her father from hell. Like she would literally pull his spirit out, and I think he would be alive again, which kind of feels like it might
that'd be hard.
defeat it. It would feel a little bit too. And I do think I think that there's a way to make that work where it's sort of like rescue her father from hell so then he can go to heaven and move on, which maybe also would have been where it ultimately went instead of literally bringing him back to life. But like someone on the podcast did bring up, like, if you are going to like fully have him come back to life, because they did set up that it was unfair that he died so early, like it wasn't meant to be what happened in the universe, like it would kind of be sort of like, oh, so the grieving process doesn't really matter. All that matters is that you undo it. And I do feel like it actually is a little bit stronger that like he is always dead and they just sort of learn how to move forward, you know?
Yeah. Well, and I think that's important for Molly in particular. Her development as a character is that she lost the person she used to make art with and still makes art. And so the grief never resolves because she never can get away from that. And that, talk about a concept that we should expose more children to, is thinking through that aspect of grief and loss. It was, that's why this show was such a surprise to me, is that it was just so well I guess painted.
Yeah, there's everything that they do with Molly's grief in particular. I think, again, considering this is a show aimed at tweens, you still get a lot of the perspective of Molly as a wife as much as a mother, having lost someone. In the first episode of season 2, I don't know if you watched that one, but that's the medium episode, and the episode itself is pretty good. But I think the best part of it is like that's the first time you actually see them going home. Like they're not on tour for the first few they're on a break from tour in the first few episodes of the season, and they're at home, and she has this really beautiful like monologue about how awful it is to live in a house full of memories about her dead husband, and almost feeling like she almost hates him for constantly having to remember him and how much it hurts and how she can't escape that. And it's like, I remember watching that. It's just sort of like, most adult dramas don't really go into that, specifically the idea that you could almost like hate the person who died and not even be able to like be comfortable in your own home because of how much pain it is to remember them. Like there's something so deep and beautiful about that.
It's so cool. It's so cool. But when the song ends, Molly takes to the mic and says, to everyone's surprise, this is her last performance on the tour.
Yeah, which is quite shocking, especially if you're watching the show. And it's like, wait, what?
Yeah. And so we follow the action backstage, and everyone is upset that Molly has canceled her tour unexpectedly. And Irene does some amazing damage control, like right there in the moment. She's calling the label, oh, we'll do one more record. You've already got a gig in New York City. Don't worry about it. And Fee, surprisingly, though, is the most upset because this is taking her away from being on the road where they magically come upon supernatural things, which she needs to do in order to figure out this mystery with her dad.
Fee, you can't just stay on the road. Mom would never let you hitchhike.
Why not? Ned drove cross country on his Harley when he was 16. I should not be able to go off on my own.
Well,
I'm waiting.
Have fun.
one of the only good Ned bits in this episode. It's like when, you know, she's just sort of like, well, Ned went on out as Harley when he was 16, like, and he was totally fine. And Ned, and she's like, right. And he's like, he can't combat that. 'Cause it's like, oh, I mean, talk to your mom. Bye. Yeah, I'm out.
Oh, it was great. It was a whole great scene. But I liked how fast it was too. It was, here's a conflict. We're all still figuring it out. Irene is amazing. The episodes I saw were so little Irene, but every time she's there, she's just great.
Yeah, she's very like, she's underused in this show. I think I wish that they'd done more with her, but she's always so fucking fun because she's so different from everyone else in the cast, because she is just like, I don't care about I'm here for the business. I'm the manager. I have to keep this shit moving and keep this shit going. Y'all have your weird supernatural adventures or whatever. I gotta like be on my phone making sure the goddamn concerts are happening so we can get our fucking paychecks. Like I love having that energy on the show.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I agree. It moves very quickly. The bulk of the episode really is the songs.
Yeah.
So we go right into the next song, which is She Sells, which is this really upbeat jam. Again, one of the best songs in the show. And what I love about this song is the story about it, because it's all about Molly's misgivings about selling out to the corporate world, because it has been well established in the show. They brought it up many, many, many times that right before the show started, I think like just maybe a year or two before we see her on tour in the show, she was working as a jingle writer, like a commercial jingle writer in the corporate world, hated it and got out and became a solo artist. And that's sort of where it's going. So it makes a lot of sense that like, this would be part of this collection of songs, because it's very important to her character and been brought up a lot.
She gave up chasing that hit single. Why should she work so hard when she can write one catchy jingle, buy a house with a big backyard? The suits fill up her fan club, the boardroom is her gig. Her music plays 10 times a day. She must be really big. She sells condos by the seashore. She sells the item you've been looking for. She sells to get a slice of the big pie. She sells, in the end she sells her soul, 'cause she knows that's what they want to buy. She finds herself forgetting why she started in the first place. Afternoons at the piano on Daddy's knee. First a G, now an E. That's the way, baby. Now it's contracts and royalties and 30-second spots. Don't make them cry, just make them buy.
This was wild for a few different reasons. One is that the bop is a pop bop, but the lyrics are not. This is about sort of self-turmoil, about doubting yourself, about doubting who you were, what you do, why you do your craft. It's set to a minor key. This would be a dark and haunting song, but as presented, this is sincerely like my favorite song of the episode.
It's good, but it's a good song. Good. And the thing is, like, I think that they knew it too, because I think the song is also a great pick for this episode, because you've seen the entire conception of the song throughout the whole show. It has all been depicted. They bring up her corporate jingle writer career in the very first episode. You hear her make the decision to write a song about those circumstances later in the first season. And then from various episodes in season 1 and 2, you see her writing the lyrics, you see her recording the song, you see her shooting the music video in that Strange Geometry episode you watched. And then finally, after hearing bits and pieces of it and hearing the basically full life cycle of the song, we're finally gifted with this full performance of it finally. And I also think, I'm pretty sure this is the last time you ever hear it on the show too. Wow. So it feels like you literally hear you see and hear the full life cycle of it, which is so fucking fun.
Yeah. And under the song, or again, interplayed with the song, are all these fun clips from the past 2 seasons. So it's things like them swimming together or being silly or just enjoying themselves, which is nice because those are also clips from the show, but it's almost a completely different show than the clips we saw Into the Darkness with. The characters are the same, but it could be from a totally different genre show.
Yeah, I think it gives a nice picture of how the variety this show could offer you, because there are some episodes of the show that are just funny, that are just straight up humor episodes.
Oh yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
I mean, just like X-Files.
Yeah, just like X-Files. That's a great example because even sometimes the spooky things they interplay humor with, which is great.
Yeah, like the Gremlins. And that whole episode is a fucking... It's a stupid episode, but it's so fun and silly. And you see a lot of that in this clip section. It's also just like... We said it, like this show is about... The song is about her selling out. It is so wild to me that this song, which is, again, one of like the most important and like biggest, most popular songs on the show, it is on a Disney production. And this song is about how creating art for a corporation can be soul crushing, like explicitly.
Yeah. And they're already a soul crushing organization at this point in time because they've acquired ABC. That whole thing has happened. They're starting to become the giant org that they are. This isn't tiny Disney who made some movies and did some animation. This is already big bad Disney.
And hey, the people who wrote that song got fired like very shortly after this episode. So it's like, you know, like I think that I can't imagine they weren't empathizing with Molly when they were writing this stuff.
Yeah.
Like, of course they're going to put this all over the show. You know, this is kind of like their punk rock, like pushing back on the corporation that they're making the show for. Like they wouldn't have been able to make the show without Disney, but they also couldn't make the show as good as it could have been because of Disney, you know?
Yeah. And at the end of the song, Molly gets a standing ovation because this is the end of her tour. This is the end of her performing, is what she said. And this is probably the most animated we get to see the audience by this point in the episode.
Yeah. Because I think that like, even though the visualization of the audience is not really good outside of them giving her a standing ovation, I think the sound work is good because they do... Every song, I feel like, gets the appropriate amount of applause that would be expected for the type of song it is. And like this one, it's so subtle, but like, I like that there's a delay before people start cheering. Like there's a couple of different drum beats before the song starts. And then the audience starts stirring and it's like, woo, oh yeah. It's very much like, oh shit, that's that new song she has. I didn't realize she'd be playing that. And then like it has to click with them for a second, which feels very true to life. Again, like when you see the audience, they're just sitting there patiently like, this is nice. But like when you hear them, I feel like it works really well with making it feel like a realistic concert.
Yeah. Yeah, well, they go backstage and the band confronts Molly about the sudden cancellation of the tour. But Irene saves the day by convincing the label to let them record a CD back home, and they'll still have one final performance in New York City, which will be the season finale. Molly explains to Jack that she just wants her family to be at home and safe. And Molly tries to comfort Fee, who blames herself for the decision to stop performing.
I know I make you and Jack mad sometimes. But I feel Daddy in my heart. I feel near us, like he's watching over us.
I can feel it too. Miss B. Oh, they're going pretty crazy out there. Maybe we should give them something.
This is for you. And your dad.
And maybe it's because of this, or maybe because the crowd is going wild, but Molly decides to do an encore after all, saying to her daughter, "This is for you and your dad."
Oh my God.
Wow. It's a lot. It's very passionate. And I felt like, because of my watching order, I got so little time between Strange Geometry and this, that this felt like this huge crossroads episode for Molly, that she was fighting against this nature of, I want to perform and who I am is performing, and I'm going to quit to keep my daughter safe. And also at the beginning of the episode saying, no encores, I don't do that shit. And okay, here's an encore that's especially for my daughter and my dead husband.
Yeah, I think that's a really good observation, and I think it kind of adds even to like the finality that Molly is feeling, where it's sort of like, no, this is for real. This is the end. I'm only doing an encore right now because this is the last performance on the tour explicitly, which I think is a really well observed. Yeah.
Yeah, they do go back out on stage. She asks them if they know the song Another World. And this is where the quote you pulled came in, which was so hateful.
I don't usually do encores, but I guess tonight's different. I'd like to do a song that's very special to me. It's a song my husband wrote called Another World. You guys know this song?
Are you kidding me? I grew up listening to your old songs.
Thanks a lot.
Are you kidding me? I grew up listening to your old song.
I love Molly's reaction. She's thanks a lot. And right before she's about to go into this deeply emotional and passionate, haunting song, she's just criticized for being fucking old. Goddamn.
And the thanks a lot, again, I know that you love this. This is my criticism of the episode besides the venue. That could have used a second take because it's a little too much ham on that sandwich.
I agree.
And a second take of that would have probably delivered a little bit more subtlety. It was laugh out loud funny.
It's very funny. It's very, very funny. Yeah. Because it's Carrie who says that. He sees the guitarist in the van and he's so he's not trying to be mean. It is just, he is that it's oblivious. Because she's like, do you know this? It's like, well, yeah, of course. It's like, he doesn't even realize that it's the worst thing to say to someone.
Oh my God, I can't stop laughing.
It's so fucking good.
Woo. But this is where we get the Another World song. So this is the final song of the episode. And this is a haunting piano ballad that Rick wrote about the lonely and unhappy people seeking and hoping for another better world than this one. The song's played without any clips and no cutaways from Molly except for a couple reaction shots from Fee and Jack who are watching backstage. We've heard the tiniest sliver of this song before, but this is the first time it's been sung by Molly. For a brief moment, Rick's ghost appears alongside of her, and Molly can noticeably feel his presence.
And he says, this can't be all there is. There must be something more. There must be a better place. Looking for another world. I'm not sure we should. I'm not sure salvation lies there. There is bad as well as good. Let us love each other now, as if this time is all there is. Lying here beside you, I wonder what will become of us, of you and me. Oh, all of us, so many dangers. Oh, so much at stake. I'm scared of what I cannot see. My love, I am so scared.
Oh my God.
Oh, it was good. It was so good.
I didn't tell you really anything about this episode when we were watching it, so I don't think you had any idea what you're getting in for. So did you even see that coming?
No, because even though Molly had gone into the spirit world and strange geometry, she didn't interact with Rick while there. So I wouldn't have seen a connection there. And she was in so much disbelief about it that her being part of a supernatural moment didn't feel like something that I was expecting, especially during a performance. So it was moving, and they didn't interact with each other during their performances, but they did play off each other. I don't know if I'm explaining this very well, but the vibe changed, I guess, is the best thing I can say.
Yeah, I think that they are really smart about it too, because they they wait a very long, like you hear the majority of the song and it is just these unbroken shots of Molly. And it's like, you know, we went from a clip show to a song without any clips whatsoever. Yes. And I think it's already notable. So it feels like a very final thing and it feels very emotional. And they wait until almost like the last second for just a couple of verses, and suddenly, and you hear Rick's voice before you see him. Like it's a close up on Molly and you hear Rick's voice, and you might not recognize what's going on, and then they do a crossfade and you see Rick singing alongside her. Like, it's so beautifully done, you know. And I do think it's like, it feels like it comes out of nowhere, but it doesn't, because they have established from the very beginning that like this sort of unique energy that Molly had when performing with her husband that she's lost and is longing for. Yeah. And so the idea of like feeling him when he's on stage, like you could treat this as that not a supernatural thing at all, and it's just a metaphor for how Molly feels his presence along with him. You know, I think the end when they literally make eye contact like makes it like, no, this is a real ghost. But in the moment when she's singing the song, I think it really feels like this is a visualization of how Molly feels his presence and spirit with her when she's performing, because of the connection they had as artists.
Yeah, I bought it 100% as a ghost because it was he was shot transparently.
Sure,
I think, but truly and honestly, I think that if he had just been there, I would have bought it as a memory, hook, line, and sinker, because it wouldn't have been weird enough for me to think, oh, this is supernatural. I would have said, oh, this is memory.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good. It works.
It was really cool because I also felt like the layering of the song had sort of double meaning. And I think one of the meanings was about how the world has changed. But the other meaning that I got out of it was this entire idea of rebirth and renewal, and how what is actually happening is you change and you have to figure out who you are in the same world when you are different, which means that the world is then different as well. And that was what was so evocative on a second watch when I was really just focusing on lyrics.
Oh, that's such a good observation. I love that. Yeah.
Yeah. Couldn't do it the first time because I was, really, really engaged the first time and wrote none of the lyrics down.
No, it's really engaging. I mean, it makes me cry whenever I watch when you hear his voice. I can't not tear up with it because it's just so, you've been, I mean, whether you've watched the whole show or not, even just in the confines of this episode, I think you fully understand the power of that voice singing alongside Molly and her getting to sort of experience performing with Rick again for the first time since he died. Right. And there's something so beautiful and also kind of haunting and sad about that at the same time.
Yeah. While the song itself is also haunting and sad. Firing on all cylinders here to deliver that emotional impact here at the end, which is really, really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Molly finishes the song and brings Fee and Jack on stage, and she briefly sees Rick's ghost in the audience, and they share a quick look to each other and a melancholy smile, and that takes us out of the episode. Derek, what a banger. What a banger.
Yeah. Also, like, poor Fee being brought on stage in front of people while she's clearly just been crying. Like, Cara DeLizia sells it, though, because it's just sort of like, no, I am not in the correct state to be presented to this giant audience of people. And I look very uncomfortable and just emotionally raw. And now I have to like expose that to everyone. Like, it's so apparent on her face.
That is
so
amazing.
Good.
Didn't clock that at all. I did not read that at all. I guess I was just too in my head about like what all the symbolism was going for. Well, but you're 100% right. What a dick move, Molly.
I know. Yeah. But like, I mean, I think you're forgiven for not noticing that because it's a really powerful way to end this episode, and it just fades the credits from there. Like, man, it's what a way to leave it off.
Wow. Yeah. And I even wrote in the notes like, wow, Derek, was this supposed to be the end? And then I kept watching episodes because it does really have this, okay, it's time to wrap up the episode. It's time to wrap up the series now, gang.
Yeah.
We've done this. We've reminded you where we're going. Now we're going to set up for the future, and then we're going to deliver the future, and we're out.
Yeah. I mean, truthfully, even if the show had gone as originally planned, I do think that the third season would still be a very different show from the second season because they were intending to come to such a different end at such a different place and really, move forward with a real specific end in sight after that. So I do think that probably even if they weren't thinking about them being fired as showrunners, I do think that there was still an idea that it's like, this is kind of still the end of an era for the show. The third season is going to be about something kind of different in wrapping up all of our storylines and everything and literally going to hell. So like, it does feel like they were intending this to just be like, here is the end of the original era of So Weird, and now we're going to move on into the final 26 episodes. So I think that feeling still works, even as originally intended.
Yeah. The watching the finale after this also did give a nice 1-2 punch. Again, I think you could miss the hard episode in the middle, but this was really nicely delivered on that arc you're talking about. And the delivery of Rick showing up at the end of that episode was moving and was just incredible. And again, for someone who doesn't get a lot of screen time, he's eating the scenery. He's acting, and it's great. Rick is great.
Yes. Yeah. It's not his singing voice. I think it's Chris Gibson is the name of the actor. And I think David Steele, I think, is the name of the singing voice. Not that you would ever guess, because it looks like that's the voice that would come out of
great
him.
lip
like
sync.
it works.
Yeah.
But just to credit them. Yeah. He's really good. I think that he's really well cast in that. Yeah. You never get a ton of him throughout the show, but anytime you do it, I think he really gives off a really, I don't know, like it's a very particular type of dad energy, like where it's just like, you really get the sense that this is a guy who was really truly trying to look out for his daughter.
Yeah.
But also probably was a little bit of a weirdo in his original life,
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Him and Molly, not to make this crude or anything, but they had an active and amazing sex life, right? Like these two were kinky fuckers, like 100%.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They were fucking artists. Like, of course they were in a rock band together.
Yeah. I think that this well is ripe for a prequel series, and I would love a newly able to write writer to pitch this, not to Disney, but maybe someone else for a more mature telling of Molly and Rick on the road doing their own supernatural stuff.
Hey, I would love to see it. I think that's probably the only route you could ever take another installment of this show in, just because of where it went, unless you do some weird reboot thing to reboot the third. Not that any of that would ever happen, because nobody remembers this fucking show, but like you would either do something where you do some rewrite of the third season or whatever, or you do a prequel show. And I think a prequel idea is actually like a really good, fun idea. And I have to wonder, I mean, I imagine there has to be a lot of fanfic probably that has been written about that too, because there's so much sort of like teases a backstory throughout this show.
I did end up on a So Weird message forum in attempts to find answers to some of the questions that I had. And there was fanfic written, but it was not about Molly and Rick, unfortunately.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Nor about Ned and anyone, which is a real shame.
I wonder if that was the same So Weird board that I was on back in the day, if it still exists. Because I was definitely in So Weird fandom stuff at the time.
Well, it looked like it was made in 2001, so there's a high chance. There
might be some posts for me on there. I don't know what my screen name would have been at the time, but I probably was on there somewhere.
Oh my God, that's so great. Thank you, Derek, so much for introducing this series to me.
Yeah.
I probably haven't been as excited for a recording of not that everything we do is awesome and I love it, but I was really, really amped about this after watching a few episodes.
That makes me so happy. I think I don't need my taste to be validated, but this is one of those shows where it's like, I think because it is so unknown, despite being on Disney Channel, like most people don't remember it. And I think that it is really hard to pitch it to people and make them believe it is as good as you say it is. When you tell them Disney Channel show and like spell out any of the premise, people are just like, okay, I'm sure it's not as good as you're spelling out to me, but like it is. It's really fucking good and not kind of unlike anything else on TV, really.
I think what's wild to me is it's good when it's genuine and earnest, and it's good when it's campy, and it never, the earnest parts don't feel like they are now 25 years later campy. Like I don't feel like we're having that problem. I mean, there's a couple CGI effects that get a little bit of a giggle from me.
Oh, sure.
But like that, this was in 1999, 2000. Like that arc of technology is exponential, and there's no way like this was filmed at the same time as The Seventh Guest. So like there's only so much you can do with technology.
I mean, yeah. And honestly, like the most dated stuff is like charmingly dated, like everything with the internet and stuff, all the ways that Fee uses message boards and people are excited. Like Fee has her own website. That is so cool. She's like the world's first blogger, basically. Like what is instant messaging. Oh yeah, it's a way that you can chat with other people in real time across the internet. It's not like emails, it's like actual real time chatting. Isn't that the coolest thing ever? Like it's like charming because it's sort of like, I do think the show was kind of like right on the cusp of like presenting that stuff on TV for the earliest times. Like, yeah, you weren't watching many TV shows that were like showing off their version of AIM or whatever, because most TV writers didn't fucking know what that was. So like, I think it's actually an interesting time capsule in that way. And anything that isn't a time capsule, I think holds up really well.
Yeah. I think it's also amazing that Fee is so respected on the internet that like tenured faculty are getting on their dial-up servers to respond to the questions that she has about various historical trauma. Every time she opens her mouth and she's like, oh, well, a faculty who's an expert on Cairo myth responded to my question on the message board. And I was like, my girl.
Yeah. It's so funny. And to this show's credit too, they were really good the first 2 seasons of continuity where like she would meet these like one-off characters in standalones, and then later on she would reference getting an email from one of those characters answering a question because they have a shared supernatural experience. So it's sort of like, oh, you are one of these people who are in my circle now that know this stuff exists. You can help me do my research and everything. Like cool shit like that. And I do think that is something that you couldn't really do without the internet, because now it's suddenly like, I can be connected to you don't have to deal with picking up a phone and calling another character. You can just be like, this character that was only appeared in one episode, we're never going to get the actor back, but we can absolutely have them send emails and keep that continuity in mind and everything. Like, it's just kind of cool, like a cool, innovative way that they were using the invention of the internet, you know?
Yeah. It's great. I just love it. Derek, is there anything we didn't get a chance to talk about with this 65 episodes of So Weird that exist on Disney Plus?
I don't know. I wish that there was another episode that we could do of it. I mean, that's why I thank you for reining me in, because I was just going on every possible tangent I could go on, because I don't know that there's ever going to be another chance to really talk about this show, because any other episode that like might be a gimmicky episode, it's like very like, it would have to be a reach to bring it in, you know? And none of them would be anywhere near as good as this one is. This is just kind of like the perfect episode for our podcast. I'm sure that there are many more things for me to say about this show. I've been thinking about this show for decades at this point. And it is one of my favorites. And I do think, if I haven't said it enough, I do think that this is absolutely one that you will not regret watching. I've never talked to anyone who did actually watch the show or finally plunged into it based on a recommendation that didn't like it. I think no matter what, it will surprise you with how different and unique and just like straight up good it is in the first 2 seasons.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I hope this episode gets to reach so many So Weird fans from across the world, and we'll give Derek a chance to tell you where you can contact him so that you all can relive the joy of the late 90s, early 2000s. But for me, So Weird newcomer, you can find me online as Dmuma. That's DMUMA on all social media sites. And if you'd like to hear me talk about hot rockin' moms like Molly Phillips, I host a podcast called Are You My Mother?, where we take a deep dive into mothers and mother figures in media and talk about them a little bit more deeply from a queer lens.
Nice. Maybe I'll pitch a Molly-centric So Weird episode.
There's a chance for you to talk about this some more, Derek.
There's some good ones. Yeah.
How about you? How can people reach out to you to talk more So Weird?
Sure. If you want to find me, place I'm most active is on Twitter at Derek B. Gale. I'm on other social media platforms under either that name or Dare Bear, Mr. Dare Bear. I'm sure you can find me. But you can also find my other podcast, Walloping Web Snappers, where my co-host Doug and I do deep dives into every Spider-Man cartoon ever made. And I've got a new podcast coming out at the end of this week on the 13th, which I think is the Friday. That is going to be our introduction episode of Screonk, a Godzilla movie marathon, where Doug and I are stomping through all of Godzilla's filmography. That'll be a brand new feed, so check that out. Try to find it on the 13th. If it's not on your podcast app, then it will be in the next couple of days. And then our full first episode will be out the week after that. And that is, of course, part of our Literajaw Collective. You can also find me on Twitch, and I'm plugging that right now because at twitch.tv/Mr. Darebear, I am planning around the time this episode of the podcast drops to stream all my So Weird tapes that I have with the original commercials. Because I do have...
Oh, shit.
a lot of episodes. So I normally stream on like Sundays and Thursdays. I'll probably stream some stuff on Sundays, but I'll make sure to stream So Weird episodes after this episode comes out as well. So just follow me there for updates on the schedule, or follow me on social media to check that out. I do have this episode on tape, not the original airing, but like an airing on Disney Channel, which, you know, reruns after a certain point were rare. So you can definitely watch some episodes if you want to get into the show on my Twitch.
Wow, very excited about that.
Yeah.
Well, as Derek mentioned, Gimmicks is a proud part of the Glitterjaw Queer Podcast Collective. If you're looking for other queer media podcasts, check out the full roster of Glitterjaw shows at glitterjaw.com. And if you want to support this show, buy us a coffee at ko-fi.com/gimmickspod. You can also follow this podcast at gimmickspod on Twitter, Instagram, and social media for some extra goodies, and email your questions, feedback, and corrections to gimmickspodcast@gmail.com. And until next time, friends, keep being weird.
So weird, that is.
Oh my God, I was going to do that.
Walking down the hallway, turning off the lights. There's no need to wait up for you. It's time to say goodnight. You know the day you go away, then I'll become a ghost, doomed to walk the world without the one I love most. Your breath is still on my lips, your touch is on my fingertips, your tears are still on my cheek, your voice still makes me weak. Gifts I will never give you, lies I will never live with you, words that will never be spoken the moment I lose you. Love is broken, love is broken, love is broken, love is
I mean, I know it's been a couple of years, but maybe I could get my gig back on the KISS tour. They're going to Russia soon. I hear they got toilet paper now and everything.